Here are 5 signs that it's time to change up your Maffetone training. Running slow is fantastic, and it can get you really quite far in being able to run faster at the same low heart rate. However, there comes a time where you don't see the results that you want to see anymore. I'll tell you a story. The first sign I knew I needed to change things up was I was plateauing. And when I started to not see results, I started to go, okay, what's happening? I need to maybe do something a little different. And I started to look at what Phil Maffetone talked about. And, when you start to not see results, you need to kind of take a look at what's going on in your life, take a look at your running journal, and maybe it's time to add in a few things instead of continuously building your base. Because it eventually reaches a point, according to Dr. Phil Maffetone, is you gotta start adding some speed work. And regardless of what anyone thinks or about speed work or whatever, it's part of the Maffetone Method. It's part of what he talks about. Running slowly all the time, it's great until it's not so great anymore. And when you have to make some changes, you have to listen to the cues of what's going on. Okay, yeah, I'm finished my drink. It was a warmed up oat milk because I'm doing a thing with no sugar. I cut out sugar, guys. I cut out sugar. And there's a video that's going to be coming about this whole 30 days of no sugar. And there's some crazy results that I got to talk about. But that's on another video. If you're a runner that likes to run with others, if you're somebody who is a social runner, somebody that enjoys having that extra person with you to connect with, to share stories with, running with friends is so much better than running alone. Very cool. So nice to be able to run with everyone again. And if you find yourself not being able to run with that person because either they run too fast or they run too slow, sometimes if you take a look at your training and maybe you start adding in some more speed work, or maybe you slow down a little bit more to be able to have those runs and with your friends, you can do that. Because if you're always running by yourself, that's cool. Pretty much the majority of us run by ourselves. However, there are times when you would like to be able to join a run club or whatever. And if you're forgoing those types of runs because you don't want to stray from just doing the Maffetone Method and it has to be this and it can't be anything else, that may be a sign that you may have to change it up. Adding some variety to your running is a good thing, and it shouldn't be discounted. Because if you're just getting bored of doing the same doesn't matter where I go, there's always noise. You found yourself while out on a run and you just felt like you were in that zone, like nothing could go wrong and you could go faster, and everything's just started to feel really cool, right? Like you had your breathing in check, it was going extremely well, but then you kind of stopped yourself from going a little bit faster only because you were doing this whole base training and you were afraid to kind of take it up like 5 more beats. Look, I've been in that boat where I wanted to go faster because everything just felt so good. And then so I did, I opened it up and I started to fly down the hill or whatever it was, and I just felt like everything was just clicking and it was just amazing. And I was totally enjoying it. But then as I kind of, continued down that path, continued down that trail I was on, all of a sudden I started to feel kind of guilty. I'm like, why am I doing this? Like I gotta go back to just running slow. I can't open up. I can't go, anything above this, this number. I can't go above my MAF number, and I'm being so militant, and you know, that's a sign. That was a sign that I knew I needed to make some changes, and I needed to allow myself and give myself the grace to just do those types of runs. If it felt good to run faster, then by all means, run faster. Like, don't worry about, you know, what your heart rate is at or whatever it is. Like, if you feel good, go for it. Like, you know, one day faster run is not gonna stop your progress, right? It's not gonna be detrimental, right? Like, running faster, having a tempo run in your day is a good thing, right? Just don't, like, let this whole Maffetone method, this running slow, kind of crush your soul just because you want to go a little bit faster. You know, be kind to yourself. Don't stop doing the fun things just because there's an arbitrary number that says, look, you can't go more than 180 minus your age. Because if that's the thing, then that may not be a good thing for you mentally. If your motivation is starting to wane, if you're not enjoying your runs, if you find yourself kind of dreading going out for another slow run because it's boring, it's the same thing over and over again, then that's a sign. That's a sign. Because look, if you do this more than 3 months in a row, and it may not be even 3 months, it could be like, I don't know, a month or two, right? You may find yourself getting really bored because there's no variety, there's no spice in the running anymore. It's just like this slow plodding along,
this whole running,
getting bored, losing motivation, because, you know, again, you may not have been doing it long enough to start seeing results, because maybe, you know, you're still going backwards, and maybe you haven't changed your diet, or maybe, you know, the stress level isn't, you know, reduced. Maybe, you know, you're not getting enough sleep. Maybe you're still overtraining because you think you can run longer. Like, a lot of those factors come into play. So yeah, pay attention to that, because that is a sign. This one here, there may be a lot of you who are gonna listen to this and go, I can relate. I find that when I go out for a run, there's like 4 runs that I do, right? I can either go on a trail, I can do like out on the Bruce Trail, or I can go do a rail trail. I could go run through town, or I can do a perimeter run, right? Those are like the 4 that I typically do. And what I find is, if I continue to do these runs over and over and over again, like, I've covered I've covered the roads more than enough. I've covered the trail more than enough. I know every rock route, you know, every split. I know everything about these runs. And what I find happening is I start comparing myself to each run. And if I'm not improving, I start to kind of get stressed out about it, right? Because it's like, okay, it's been a couple of months now. Okay, it's cooler. I should be able to see, you know, a faster result. And then when I don't see the faster result, I get stressed out, because I'm like, why isn't this working? What's going on? Why am I not seeing improvements? Why am I not faster? Like, what's going on? And that, oh man, that was frustrating. It was so disheartening in so many ways, but I allowed the stress to get to me. And when the stress got to me, it kind of built up again. Not only that, but if I was stressed out at work, because, you know, if I got stressed out at work, that's a lot to kind of take on. And I'm supposed to be running to kind of relax and get rid of the stress. And if my running is causing me more stress, all of a sudden now I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting it from both ends, right? It's like burning the candle at both ends. You're just not gonna see improvement. And I know that. I've been there and I've done it. That's why I'm telling you guys about it. So then the age-old question is, what point do you make some changes? Like, when do you start adding in some tempos, some fartlicks, some progression runs, maybe some track runs, maybe doing trail running instead of being on the road all the time? Like, at what point do you make that adjustment and make the shift? Well, that's going to be strictly up to you, right? Like, I know for me, right, there was a point where I was running so much, so many 2-hour runs, and just because I could run 2-hour runs, it didn't mean that I should be running 2-hour runs all the time, because again, that's stress on your body, because now I'm going longer and further and all this kind of stuff, right? So if I was putting so much pressure on myself doing these longer runs every single day, that's a lot of mileage, right? You can still overtrain your system if you're putting in that amount of mileage. So for me, I had to pay attention to that, right? Because again, I'm training to run a 100-miler, okay? There's a lot of training that's involved in that. Even when I was training for my 50-miler, there was a lot of training for that. And I had to pull back, right? I had to pull back because I didn't want to hit the fatigue or the burnout all over again that I experienced in my running before I discovered the Maffetone Method. I discovered the Maffetone Method so I could improve. I didn't want to kind of go backwards. So I had to pay a lot of attention and give myself those rest breaks, not run every single day, right? Yeah, it's fine for a couple of weeks, but maybe slow it down. Maybe, only run 5 days out of the week and have 2 rest days. Maybe you do a leg workout, or maybe you do something, I don't know, CrossFit or something, whatever it is, right? Maybe you have to do those things. I am a runner. I like to experiment with different methods, right? Whether it's the Cavarvan method, whether it's the Maffetone method, whether it's the Jack Daniels method, or whether it is Jim, John, or Bill Smith's training program, whatever it is, right? Everyone seems to have a method, right? And these are fine. It'll take you some really cool places. But the one person that knows what's going on the most is you, right? You feel it. You know when you've gone too much. You know when you need to take a step back. But we allow the ego to kind of, take hold and say, that's okay, I'll just keep on pushing through or whatever. And we don't pay attention, right? Like, we're not looking at our resting heart rate. That is super important, right? Take a look at that. Figure out where you're at with that. And if it's high, then yeah, okay. Maybe you have to slow it down. Maybe you need more rest. You just need to listen to your body and see what it says. Look, we want to be runners for a long time. And look, I'm far from any expert at all in any of this. I'm just sharing my experience and what I've gone through, just so you guys can just maybe learn or pick up a few things from your peer, right? I am a runner just like you are, and I enjoy the sport. I enjoy what I do, and it's good for my mental health. However, with all that being said, you got to pay attention to those 5 signs, because if not, you may be in for a world of hurt. And you may just give up. You may just say, pack it in, say, the heck with it. I'm just going to do what I've always done. Blah, 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 blah. Cool. It's okay. You do what you do, right? I'm just a YouTuber giving you just a little bit about my life and what I do. And yeah, that's really what it comes down to. Like I always say, get out and run.
I really wanted to get it right. Trying to find some balance in